Hey you guys, my name is Dave Hawkins, former Air Force T-38 instructor pilot down in Texas. This is the airplanes I flew, and this video is going to be entitled Trust Your Instruments in Case You Get Into the Clouds. Trust your instruments in the clouds. And this will be part one, and there's a part two that I've actually already recorded. And we're going to use a Cessna 152, which is commonly used in training. And the reason I'm doing this is because the flight instructors do a really good job of basic pilot training, but they don't spend a lot of time on instruments. And I've discovered that there's a lot of people out there throughout time that have bought airplanes because they inherited money or whatever, did well in business. Now they have an airplane and they go out and fly, but they don't get adequate training on instrument flying, what to do if you get in the clouds. And they end up getting disoriented in the clouds a lot of times and end up crashing, getting in a death spiral, crashing and dying. And so this video, part one and part two, is designed to help you avoid that happening to you in your flying career. So here we are in a Cessna 152. We're just going to take off visually. Now, what they teach you in flight school is to use visual references. So we're going to take off in a second, and I'm going to put the dashboard, the top of the dashboard, on the horizon as a good pitch attitude for climbing flight. Now, what you see right here with the dashboard kind of halfway, the horizon halfway between the dashboard and the top, is a pretty good reference for level flight. And then when you lift off, you just raise the dashboard to the horizon. Now, when you make a turn, you pick a point out here. If you're sitting on the left side as the pilot in command, you'd pick a point out here and you would rotate the airplane around that point, whether it's left or right. So that's how things are done visually. That's how the CFIs at the flight schools teach you. But they don't teach you a whole lot about instrument flying. And if you get into the clouds, this stuff out here isn't going to do you any good at all. You need to come inside and reference the attitude indicator and your other instruments. And everything's a lot smaller than out here. That's one of the big differences between VFR and instrument, IFR, is the size of the control instrument. This is your control instrument. When you're flying visually, the outside is your control instrument. So we're going to take off here. I've got it trimmed out, I think, pretty good. We're going to run up the engines. Check my flap setting. There we go. We're at the downtown airport in Kansas City, and my engine looks good, so I'm going to release the brakes. Got a VFR map up there. And we're going to fly visually at first, and then I'm going to show you the transition to instrument. There's 50 knots. I'll go ahead and rotate and put my dashboard on the horizon, and I'm going to try to trim for hands-off flight. I've got it pretty good. Raise my flaps. So you see this visual reference, this dashboard. It's right on the horizon. And what is that giving me in terms of a climb rate? About 500 feet per minute. My airspeed is 80 knots. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to make a left turn, and I'm going to take that visual point right there and rotate around it. I'm not going to turn real radically. I'm just going to do a kind of a basic turn. There goes the downtown Kansas City buildings. And I'm just rotating, and I'm going to go ahead and climb 1,500 feet or so, something like that. There's the river. I'm going to roll out, level again, and continue my climb. So my dashboard is still on the horizon for my visual reference. And I'll tell you what, I'll just go to 1,800 feet, I think, because that seems to work pretty well for the instrument approach that I want to fly. And so now I'm going to go ahead and turn to about 010 heading. That's a good heading for a downwind for my instrument approach. And I'm getting to my altitude right now. I'm almost to 1,800 feet. My dashboard is still on the horizon. Now I'm going to level off. And all the instructors will teach you to level off with a visual reference. So you drop the dashboard below the horizon, you pull the power back, and then you trim. Okay, I'm trying to trim to keep myself level. Now you can see there's a new visual reference. There's some ground between the dashboard glare shield and the horizon, and that's what you want for level flight. And I can't tell you exactly what it is. Mine's a little bit off because I'm dropping too low. So let's fix it a little bit. A little more power here. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm keeping pretty close to 1,800 feet, and my glare shield is a little bit below the horizon. You just have to experiment with how much. But this is how we do visual flying. Okay, and then if I do a right turn, I take my pivot point and I do it like that. Hold that pivot point on the horizon, drag the nose around the horizon, just like that. Staying level. Visual references. That's what you'll learn in basic flight school. Now if I want to turn back left again, I'm going to lift this side above my pivot point and turn left again. And see, I'm dropping in my altitude a little bit, so I got to raise my point up a little bit. Okay, there we go. Now let's put the power up and do a little bit of a steep turn. So there I am at 1,800 feet. I'm headed about north. And so now I'm going to take this point, this visual point, and turn 60 degrees of bank and do a steep turn. Now all I'm going to do is drag that point across the horizon. See how fast my turn rate is? There you go. Okay, roll out. And now I can do one in the other direction. Same thing, I'm rotating about that same point. And I'm pulling some backstick pressure to keep the wings, keep the nose on the horizon, or keep that point on the horizon. And there we come, all the way back to a little bit past 360. And I dropped in my altitude right there a little bit. I find that it's a little bit hard to fly VFR steep turns in a simulator. But the whole point of doing this is to show you the difference between visual references and instrument references. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get on the 010 heading. I'm at 1,800 feet. Pull my power back just a little bit. And now I'm all set up. I'm flying on a nice downwind 010. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the weather in. Okay, we'll put it on pause. And we're going to drop the weather down to overcast. And we're going to make really make the bottoms down here like 277, something like that. We're going to increase the density to really simulate flying in the clouds. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to pretend that this happened suddenly. We accidentally got into some clouds. We were flying too close to clouds or whatever. And what do? Okay, well, the answer is you fly instruments and you trust your instruments, okay? I'm going to take it off pause, and you can see that now my focus is entirely right here, okay? I am going to try to keep that little dot right above the horizon. And I'm going to limit my bank angle since I'm flying on instruments now. I'm flying 010 heading. I'm at 1,800 feet. My dot right there, that dot is just barely above the horizon. It's about 2 degrees nose high, something like that. And I have to play around with it a little bit to see what holds it perfectly. But it looks like 2 degrees nose high is going to hold it pretty good. Need to get back up to my altitude. My power's a little bit low, that's why I'm dropping some. Okay, so pull the power back up, 2 degrees nose high, 1,800 feet is what I want, 010 on my heading. And now I'm in pretty good shape. So in the second video, I'm going to actually fly an instrument approach, but on this one, I just want to emphasize the basics. So the basics are focusing on this instrument and setting a pitch attitude that's going to keep you level, and then flying a heading, pick a heading and fly it, and then cross-check your altitude and your other instruments. Okay, so I'm looking pretty good, 1,800 feet, 010 heading. Now, let's just try a couple turns. Let's try a right turn. Now, under instrument conditions, I don't bank nearly as steep. You can see I've got 15 degrees of bank. I'm going to come over to 100 heading. I'm going to try to stay right at 1,800 feet. And I'm keeping that dot right at 2 degrees above the horizon throughout the turn. Okay, here comes my heading, and roll out wings level on my heading of 100, keeping about 2 degrees nose high, and there's my 1,800 feet. Okay, that's a good, successful instrument turn. Now I'm going to turn left, do the same thing. 2 degrees nose high, turning left, 15 degrees of bank. Looks like I'm climbing just a little bit, so I might need to adjust my pitch attitude to 1 degree nose high. And I can even come down with the dot right on the horizon to lose that extra altitude that I gained. I gained 100 feet. I don't really want that. So come on down to, my pitch attitude is dot on the horizon right now. Dot on the horizon. Not below, right on, right there. Okay, whoops, it was above. Okay, and I passed up my heading a little bit, not bad. Let's get back to it. Got distracted. That's real easy to do, get distracted. You want to have a really fast cross check so you don't get distracted. Okay, there's 010, there's 1,800 feet, and it looks like my pitch attitude that I need to maintain 1,800 feet is more like dot on the horizon, and that's because I have a higher power setting now. As I lower my power setting, that would change. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video, but I hope you can see the contrast between looking outside and making turns with visual references versus using the attitude indicator and looking inside and then making very much smaller control inputs while under instrument conditions. Okay? Now in our next video, we'll take up where we left off and we will do a full instrument approach. Okay? Y'all have a great day.